right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. We're diving into Ayurveda,
Okay.
but specifically Ayurveda for type 2 diabetes. And we're
Right.
looking at one specific case report published in the Journal of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine. So obviously
Uh,
this is just one case. You can't extrapolate everything from this, but it is kind of a fascinating look into this ancient tradition
yeah,
and how it might have some relevance in the modern world.
absolutely. And I think what makes this case so interesting is that the severity of the patient's condition
Oh, yeah.
at the outset is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
a 41-year-old male in India who presented with a HbA1c of 14.87%.
Wow.
So that's,
That's very high.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
really high. And just,
For context, a normal HbA1c
yeah.
is below 5.7%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so for people who don't know, HbA1c basically gives you a measure of your average blood sugar over, like, the past 3 months.
exactly, it's a long
It's
term.
not a finger prick.
Yeah.
It's a long term.
Yeah, exactly.
So he was way, way out of range.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, he also had a strong family history of diabetes,
Right, which suggests,
which I'm sure didn't help.
right, a potential genetic predisposition.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, before we even get into the specifics of this case, can you just give us like a little Ayurveda 101?
Yeah, sure. So Ayurveda is a traditional system of medicine. It originated in India thousands of years ago.
Right.
And it really takes like a holistic view, meaning it considers the whole person, their physical body, their mind, their emotions, even their spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
And one of the key concepts in Ayurveda is the idea of the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. These are sort of like energetic forces, you could think of them as, that govern different bodily functions.
Okay.
And everybody has this unique combination of these doshas. And when they're in balance, you're healthy.
Right.
When they're out of whack, that's when illness can develop.
So, in the case of diabetes specifically, how would Ayurveda view that? So, in Ayurveda, diabetes is known as prameha,
Prameha, okay.
and it's seen as a metabolic disorder
Mm.
that is caused by an imbalance in these doshas. And often it's a kapha and a pitta imbalance.
Yeah.
And so Ayurvedic treatment really focuses on restoring that balance
Okay.
through personalized lifestyle changes, dietary recommendations, and then also herbal formulations.
So in this case, this guy was diagnosed with Kaphaja Prameha with Pitta aggravations.
Exactly. So that means that his diabetes was primarily linked to
Yeah, what is that even?
an excess of kapha dosha, which is associated with things like heaviness, slowness, fluid accumulation.
Okay.
And then the pitta aggravation suggests that there are also imbalances related to metabolism and digestion.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, it's not just about lowering blood sugar. It's really about addressing those root imbalances.
Right, because if you just treat the symptom,
Right.
you're not really getting at
At the root cause.
yeah, what's causing it in the first place.
Precisely. And that's really where the personalized approach of Ayurveda comes in.
Okay, so let's get into this case now, and let's talk about some of the things that they actually did
Right.
to treat this guy. So the case report mentions that he was given several different herbal preparations, one of them being Katakaka Durati Kashayam.
Right.
I'm probably butchering that.
No, you did great.
Okay, and then Chandraprabha Vati.
Yeah.
Can you break those down for us? Like, what are those things?
Yeah, so these are classical Ayurvedic formulations that have been used for centuries
Okay.
to address various health concerns. So, for instance, Katakaka Dhirati Kashayam is a decoction, meaning it's like a concentrated tea
Okay.
that's known for its ability to regulate blood sugar levels
Yes.
and improve digestion. And it specifically targets kapha imbalances,
Gotcha.
which, as we discussed, were prominent in this patient's case.
Mm.
And then Chandraprabha Vati
Right.
is a tablet that is often used to balance pitta dosha
Okay.
and support metabolic function.
So it's not just like a random assortment of herbs. These are like
Uh-huh.
targeted formulas.
Exactly. It's a very targeted approach.
Yeah.
But it's not just about taking herbs.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. I mean, this report also emphasizes the importance of lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. So Ayurveda places a huge emphasis on diet and lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
as integral parts of the treatment. So in this case, the patient was likely advised to avoid foods that aggravate kapha dosha. So things like refined sugars, processed foods, heavy oily meals. The focus would have been on things like whole foods, vegetables, lighter cooking methods.
So it's kind of like what you hear a lot of the time, even just for managing diabetes now.
Exactly.
You know,
a lot of overlap.
eat less sugar,
Right.
Eat whole foods. I mean, it's interesting how this kind of ancient wisdom
Yeah.
sort of aligns with some of what we're learning now.
Absolutely. It really highlights a certain timelessness to those concepts.
Yeah.
And, the emphasis on lifestyle in Ayurveda goes beyond just food. It includes things like exercise, stress management techniques,
Yeah.
adequate sleep. So it's really about creating a lifestyle
Right.
that promotes balance
Right.
and supports overall well-being.
Okay, so we talked about the herbs, we talked about the lifestyle. There's one more thing I want to explore in this case before
Mhm.
we get into the results, and that's this thing called sprotone.
Yes.
Right?
Sprotone,
Yeah,
which sounds like,
this is a fascinating piece of the puzzle.
it sounds very modern, right?
Yeah, it does.
Like a supplement.
Like a very modern day
Yeah,
supplement.
you'd find it in Whole Foods.
Exactly.
And it is. It's a specially formulated food supplement. It's made from sprouted grains, legumes, and seeds,
Mm-hmm.
but it's based on these traditional Ayurvedic practices.
That's right. So the concept of sprouting to enhance the nutritional value of grains and legumes
Right.
has been around for centuries in Ayurveda.
Okay,
Right.
so what's so special about Sprotone? Why do you think it played a role in this guy's, getting better? Well, I think it raises a really important point about how we often approach diabetes management.
Okay.
Oftentimes, the focus is solely on controlling blood sugar,
Right.
but we can sometimes overlook the vital role of actually ensuring that the body has the nutrients it needs to function optimally.
So if you're cutting out, if you're like restricting
Healthy
all
focus.
these foods, you might be missing out on stuff.
You might inadvertently creating deficiencies
Right.
because you're not getting enough of certain vitamins and minerals
Right.
that are essential for metabolic processes.
Okay, so that's where this comes in.
Exactly. So Sprotone is packed with nutrients. It's got protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. It's like giving your body the building blocks that it needs to repair and heal itself.
Okay.
So by addressing those potential nutrient deficiencies, Sprotone may have played this really synergistic role alongside the herbal medicines and the lifestyle modifications.
So it's back to that whole like holistic thing again.
Exactly. It's not about just targeting one specific symptom.
Right.
It's about really supporting the entire system.
Okay, so let's look at what happened to this guy. So he starts this treatment plan. What happens to his HbA1c?
Well, let's find out. After 8 months of following this Ayurvedic regimen, his HbA1c dropped to 6.05%.
Wow. Okay, so from
That's significant.
14.87%
Yeah.
down to 6.05%.
It is a significant improvement.
That's huge.
And it's important to note that this was achieved without the use of any conventional diabetes medications.
He's just doing that.
He was solely on the Ayurvedic
Vedic stuff.
treatment plan we've been discussing.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty remarkable. I know some people listening to this might be thinking like,
Sure.
okay, well, is this just some fluke?
It's a fair question.
Like a 1 in a million case.
We can't definitively say that this approach would work for everyone.
Right.
And it's crucial to remember that this is just one case report.
Yeah.
However, it does offer some compelling insights into how Ayurveda might complement conventional diabetes management.
Yeah, I'm also curious about like the long term, right?
Right.
Because this is 8 months.
8 months.
But then what?
Yeah.
Like, does he have to stay on all this stuff forever?
That's something that further research would need to explore.
Yeah.
The beauty of Ayurveda is that it aims not just to manage symptoms,
Right.
but to actually restore balance within the body.
Right.
So theoretically, once that balance is achieved, the need for ongoing intensive treatment might lessen.
So it's not about becoming like dependent
Right.
on all these remedies.
Exactly. It's about empowering the body to heal itself.
Okay, I like that. So, we've talked about this case specifically, but I want to zoom out a little bit because
Yeah.
this deep dive isn't just about like this one guy and his diabetes. It's about like exploring this whole system of medicine
Right.
that's been around for thousands of years
Thousands of years.
and is often really misunderstood in the
Um,
West.
People sometimes hear Ayurveda and they think of yoga retreats or incense, but
Right.
it's a complex medical system
Yeah.
with its own diagnostic techniques, treatment modality,
Right.
and a profound understanding of the human body.
It seems like there is this growing interest now in how these traditional systems
Yeah.
can maybe be integrated
Yeah.
with modern medicine.
Absolutely. We're seeing this shift
Yeah.
towards a more
Yeah.
integrative model of healthcare,
Right.
where conventional and traditional approaches are seen as complementary
Yeah.
rather than contradictory.
And it seems especially relevant in the case of something like diabetes,
Absolutely.
because it's so much more than just like,
Right.
you know,
It's not just about managing blood sugar levels.
right.
You know, it's about addressing this complex web of metabolic imbalances.
Right. Yeah, so this Ayurvedic perspective, it takes into account like the whole person, the lifestyle.
The individual's constitution,
Yeah.
the personalized treatment,
And it's not just about
and the emphasis on lifestyle modifications.
chasing a number, right?
Right.
It's like looking at the whole tapestry,
That's a great way to put it.
not just one thread.
I like that.
Okay, so, obviously we're talking about Ayurveda. Its potential in diabetes management. I want to be very clear with our listeners.
Yes.
This is not us saying ditch your doctor
Absolutely not.
and go buy a bunch of herbs online
Right.
and start self-treating.
This case report is a starting point for further investigation and discussion,
Right.
not a definitive answer.
Right.
It is crucial to consult with qualified healthcare professionals, both conventional medicine
Right.
and Ayurveda, to determine the best course of action.
And I'm sure whatever works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. You really have to personalize it.
Understanding your unique constitution
Yeah.
and working with a knowledgeable practitioner is key.
So where do we go from here? What can our listener take away from this?
Well, I think this case report encourages us to think outside the box
Right.
when it comes to managing chronic conditions like diabetes. It invites us to consider a wider lens,
Yeah.
to look beyond simply managing symptoms and delve into the root causes of disease.
And it reminds us that there's always more to learn.
Always more to learn.
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
That ancient wisdom can offer valuable insights.
Yeah.
And that a holistic approach to health might hold the key
Yeah.
to unlocking,
Greater vitality.
greater vitality. Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, so we covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought to ponder. What if, in our quest to conquer diabetes,
Yeah.
we've been focusing too narrowly
Yeah.
on those blood sugar numbers?
What if, as Ayurveda suggests, true healing lies in addressing those underlying imbalances?
What if the key to preventing and managing this really complex condition lies in understanding and nurturing the interplay of body, mind, and spirit?
It's interesting, right? Because the conventional approach is so focused on managing those numbers,
Right.
like taking your medication, watching your diet. But what if we thought more about overall metabolic health?
It's an important shift.
Yeah.
And it is one that researchers are starting to explore more deeply.
Yeah.
There's this growing recognition that diabetes is not just about elevated blood sugar.
Right.
It really is a complex metabolic disorder with far-reaching effects on various systems within the body.
So maybe instead of just chasing those numbers, it's more about thinking about how to help your body regulate itself.
Exactly. And this is where Ayurveda's emphasis on restoring balance really resonates.
Yeah.
It's not about suppressing symptoms.
Right.
It's about really understanding the individual and working to restore harmony within their entire system.
And this makes me think about the lifestyle changes, too, that we were talking about earlier.
Because it seems like in conventional medicine, it's always like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, you should exercise. You
Right.
should watch your diet alongside your medication.
Well, right. It's an afterthought.
But with Ayurveda, it's like,
It's central.
that's the main thing.
Exactly. In Ayurveda, diet, exercise, stress management, sleep, these are not add-ons.
Yeah.
They are considered foundational pillars
Right.
of health.
So let's say somebody's listening to this and they're intrigued by Ayurveda,
Right.
but they're not ready to go full on, Ayurvedic treatment.
Yeah.
What are some things that people can take away from this
Yeah, I think
and apply to their own lives?
one of the most important lessons from Ayurveda, and from this case study specifically,
Yeah.
is the power of paying attention to your body's unique needs
Okay.
and signals.
Okay.
Right. So don't ignore those subtle signs of imbalance.
Like what kinds of things?
Digestive issues, fatigue, skin problems, mood swings. These can all be clues that something needs attention.
It's almost like tuning into your own
Yeah, your intuition.
inner wisdom. Yeah.
Precisely.
Because
And-
you know when something's off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the impact of lifestyle choices.
Right.
Even small changes to your diet, exercise routine, stress management techniques
Yeah.
can make a really big difference over time.
So it's not about doing this like crazy 180. It's
Right.
about just like,
It's about finding what works for you,
right.
making sustainable changes that you can stick with.
Yeah, little things add up over time.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we covered a lot in this deep dive.
We did.
We talked about this crazy case report,
Yeah.
delved into the principles of Ayurveda,
Mm.
and it's really fascinating to
Yeah.
think about how this ancient system of medicine
Yeah.
might have a place in our modern world,
Absolutely.
especially for chronic conditions
Yeah.
like diabetes.
And I think it really challenges us to think differently about how we approach health and well-being,
Yeah.
and to really look beyond the obvious and consider the whole person.
That's a good place to end it.
It has been a truly enlightening conversation, and I hope our listeners have gained a new appreciation for this interconnectedness of body, mind, and spirit.
So if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity,
Yeah.
maybe you want to learn more about Ayurveda.
Yeah, do your research.
We encourage you to do that.
Consult with qualified practitioners and embark on your own journey of discovery.
Yeah, because health is a lifelong pursuit, right?
It is.
And there's always more to learn.
Always more to learn. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep seeking those nuggets of wisdom that resonate with you.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.